Professor of the Department of Architecture and Regional Planning, Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, West Bengal. He is former head of the department and also Ranveer and Chitragupta School of Infrastructure and Design, IIT Kharagpur, and currently head of the Department of Architecture and Regional Planning. Currently, he is also the chairman of Museum of Science and Technology and co-chairman Academy of the Classical and Folk Arts, IIT Kharagpur, as well as chairperson, Center of Excellence for Indian Knowledge System. His areas of research are community and regional planning analysis and programming, and architecture and planning related heritage studies and documentation. He has a long working experience with the various environmental design programs under DFID, Government of the United Kingdom, and ISU UNDP program, and IR3S in the University of Tokyo, Japan. He is the recipient of the Best Postgraduate Thesis Award from Iowa State University, United States of America. He is currently associated with 5 major design consultancy projects, the older 2 mega projects sponsored by MHRD Government of India, that is the SAND HI Science and Heritage Mega Institute, and also PI2 and the Future of Cities. He has authored 7 books on Indian heritage, iconography documentation, and a textbook on sustainable planning in India. He has 3 collaborative research experience with the University of Tokyo, Japan, and Tokyo Metropolitan University, Japan, the Queen Mary University of London, UK. May I now request Professor Joy Sain, who is going to present his valuable insight on the topic Science Behind Ancient Indian Tradition. Sir, can we please hear your valuable
Yeah,
and
yeah.
knowledgeable insights?
Uh,
Professor Joy
Namaskar.
Sain?
Yes, Namaskar. I hope I'm audible.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
audible.
Yes, sir. You're audible.
And
Yes, sir.
I've also shared a small PowerPoint. Is it visible?
Yes, sir. It is
Yeah,
visible. Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Okay,
Yes.
so I'll go to full slide in a moment. But before that, on behalf of the Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, my esteemed colleague, Professor Dr. Shomesh Kumar, who is the Dean of Student Affairs, my colleague and also one of my nearest friend. Today, one of the most important thing to move on is to have wonderful friends with wonderful spirit, with wonderful camaraderie and comradeship. That's what friends are for. And I think both Professor Kumar and I, we are extremely honored to be a part of this gathering and see such a wonderful, brilliant, inspiring lecture, which was just forwarded by Dr. H.R. Nagendra. Like any building has to be standing on a strong foundation. So I think this conference is resting on the foundation of this esteemed lecture. It was just not an intellectual discourse, but it was a summary, an epitome of at least 40 to 50 years or 60 years of experience years, which Professor Nagendra had shown in his brilliant lecture. And that lecture has really helped me to come forward. With my little presentation, I'll be a little fast with this because there are other speakers after me. And my regards to Dr. Jha, to Dr. Amit, and to the registrar, sir, and to all the esteemed fraternity who are present here this forenoon session. We have already passed noon, so the Surya is Madhya Nindan. It's right on the top. It's right at the noon. So I think we know in the Vedic tradition we have Sandhya when the sun is setting, and then in the morning we have Gayatri, and then the Surya hits the noontide, which is Madhya Nindan, and the highest Shrutis of knowledge of ancient wisdom comes from there, which is the Madhyanindan Shukla Jajurveda traditions of the Vedas, the traditions which has come from the Rig Veda, the eighth mandala, to the long lineage of the Saptarshis, the Sapta Brahma Rishis, through the times of Sage Jagyavalka, through the times of Buddha, to the present times of Swami Vivekananda, Sri Aurobindo, Ramana Maharshi, and many more spiritual personalities. So India is a land which has continuously produced the great Mahapurushas and the souls who has just not talked intellectually, but they have also come with the highest discourse of direct realization. So today I'm just going to take you through a small journey of IIT Kharagpur, roughly the last 15 or 20 years. And this journey will probably give you a conviction that in IIT Kharagpur and in the nation, there is a change which is happening as dreamt by Swami Vivekananda, Sri Aurobindo, Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, and many other stalwarts of modern India. They are the visionaries who is taking India forward to the great changer. As Sri Aurobindo said, that India of the ages is not dead, and nor has she spoken her last creative word. She lives and continues to do so for herself and for all the human people in the world. So that is the whole progression of humanity. So let's move on and let's have a glimpse of what happened at IIT Kharagpur and what is the whole background behind such changes. I mean, we started with a project called the Science and Heritage Initiative, the relationship between tradition and technology, the relationship between science and heritage. Normally, we think science is one world and heritage is the other world. But if you look at the relationship between the sun and the earth, because of the tilt, the magnetic axis, we have the seasons, we have the four Sankrantis and we have the changes. And because of this tilt, the earth is a blue planet. We have the variations in environment, in climate, in material and mineral sciences. And that leads to the birth of all sciences. So the relationship between Surya and Vasundhara, that is sun and earth, the heliocentric and the geocentric relationship has given birth to science. But at the same time, if you look at the four Sankrantis, the Sara Ritus, the 6 seasons, and the 12 months, the Vaishakhi and the Kritika, the Vasanti and the Hemanti, then you also see that all our culture, all our deep culture, all our religion, all our deep religion, and all our adhatikata, which is spirituality, is based on this relationship between the sun and the earth. So science and heritage, though they look apparently as the laboratories of the external world and the internal world, but they have a common resource, which is the connection between the sun and the earth. And that is the relationship between the macrocosm, the Brahmand, and the microcosm, which is the Pind. So that is a whole foundation. So today, I'll just try in a very humble way, after this wonderful lecture by Dr. Nagendra, Dr. Nagendra, to take you through a journey. And this is actually the foundation of Indian ancient wisdom. Indian ancient wisdom, in the words of Swami Vivekananda, is a combination of something which is impersonal and also something which is personal. Indian spirituality and Indian religion is just not the gospel of avatars, the 10 avatars or the great Mahapurushas, but it also has a background of the impersonal, the universal, the Sanatana, the Amurta, the formless, which is called Gnostic. It is direct realization, and that is the Shruti and the Vedas. And against that foundation, we have the other things, the various rishis, the various avatars, the various Mahapurushas who has come, from Adi Shankaracharya to Ramanujam, from Ramanujam to Kabirji, to the times of the various Tirthankaras, to the present times of Swami Vivekananda, Sri Aurobindo, and others. So this is the whole lineage of the Smritis. The beauty about Indian religion or Indian spirituality is that if you remove all the avatars or even all the prophets, nothing happens to the ancient Indian science, which is the Shrutis, because it is ultimately based on the impersonal universal foundation. I mean, all other religions in other countries and other portions of the world are based on a single personality. But Indian religion and Indian spirituality, the science of Indian religion, is based on direct realization, which is number one, which is A. And it is against that B, which is all the personal religions as preached by all the reformers, the prophets, and the avatars, they come as number 2. So this is a very important scientific foundation of India. And this is where India remains. So there has been hundreds of invasions, hundreds of assimilations, but nobody has been able to destroy India, because this deepest layer of the Srutis is so deep that if you want to invade that layer, then you have to go to that layer. And if you reach that layer, then you change yourself. Because if you don't change yourself, you cannot reach that layer. So hundreds of efforts has been made to destroy this country and its eternal heritage, but nobody has been able to destroy it, because once you reach that layer to destroy it, then by virtue of that layer, the deep Sanatana foundation, you also change. And once you change from tamas to swatik via the rajas, then you don't have the mind to destroy. So by the grace of Almighty, India has never been destroyed. And this is the beauty of the Sanatana Dharma and the Sanatana country, which is India, which is just not a geographical space, but it is a God land of impersonal spiritual realization as number one. And then all the lineage and the paramparas of the avatars and all the prophets over time and space. So one is beyond space, time, and causation, and other is within space and time and causation. So the sum total of Indian ancient wisdom is A plus B. So it is the imaginary component which is added to the realistic component, which makes Indian entity a very complex and a very compounded situation. And that is something which has saved India from time to time, from age to age, from eternity to eternity. So these are the words of Swami Vivekananda in the seminal talk, The Sages of India. So this is actually the foundation of Indian spirituality, which is Urdhva Moolam, the highest stage which Sir Professor Nagendra was talking about, Adhashvakam, to all the branches that is below. So at the lowest level, we have the material India, the India of the industries, the India of the external laboratories. But above that, we have the cultural India, we have the utshavs, the rituals. But even above that, we have the moral and ethical India. That is the India of Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, the India of Mahatma Gandhiji, the India of Madan Mohan and others. That is the ethical and the moral foundation which brings to that level. But highest is the spiritual individual India, the great Mahapurushas, who has experienced even higher the spiritual cosmological India. And then even higher is the spiritual transcendental India, which is Sanatana, which is beyond space, beyond time, and beyond causation. So everything comes from the top level, Urdhva Moolam, to the lowest level, which is Adhashvakam, which is the 18th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the first sloka. So this is the foundation. This is the dendrogram. This is a statistical tree which explains both the plant form, which is a concentric circle, and also the elevational form, which is a tree form where the root is above and the branches are below. So this is the whole foundation of Indian knowledge system. So everything that we do socially, which is Samaj Tantra, everything that we do economically, which is Artha Shastra, everything that we do constructionally, which is Vastu Nirman Bilda, architecture and civil engineering, everything that we do normatively or ethically, which is Nyaya Shastra, is nothing else. It is nothing else but a derivative of that highest point, which is in the top, which is the spiritual and transcendental. Each and everything in India, however small and little it is in the material plane, is a step down. It is like the snow which is in the highest Himalayas, which is melted down into hundreds of rivers, the Ganga, the Uttar Bahini Ganga, which flows through Varanasi. So it is at Varanasi, Ganga becomes Uttar Bahini. Though it is coming from the spiritual to the material level, but at Varanasi, at Kashi, Ganga turns back and looks back at its origin, though it's heading for the Sagar, Sangam, the destination, and it remembers from where it has come from. So in Varanasi, we have both the knowledge of the origin and the destination. That means the material knowledge at the lowest plane and the spiritual knowledge at the highest plane are interconnected. That's why a Varanasi is a Varanasi. And today we are so blessed that we are in the context of Varanasi, and a wonderful context and a conference which is organized by the School of Management Sciences. So we are so blessed to be a part of this. So this is a science of origin and destination, which was spoken by Sir Jagadish Chandra Bose, who said in his Bengali sermon, he said, in Bengali, he said, Nodi tumi kotha hote ashcho, Nadi aap kidhar se aa rahe hain? Then Ganga replied and said, Mahadever jata haite. I am coming from the eternal origin of eternal Mahakal time. Though I am heading for the eternal ocean in my immanent stage, but I remember where I have come from, which is my transcendental stage, which is in the Himalayas. So this knowledge of latent physics of the highest condensation in the Himalayas and highest evaporation in the ocean is a science of Indian ethos, which is thermodynamics. So the entire Indian spirituality is based on the science of thermodynamics. That is the whole science. And this is something which the British wanted to destroy. But how can they destroy? Because the science of thermodynamics is also a Western science. So if you want to destroy India, you destroy the whole world. Because every science of the world is somehow indebted to the original science in India. At some point of time, Kapila's Shankha Darshan had reached, in the words of Swami Vivekananda, he said, there's no philosophy in the world, there's no school of science in the world which is not indebted to the Rishi of Shetashara Upanishad, Maharshi Kapila, Siddhanam Kapila Muni, the highest Siddhi which is realized in the Shankha Darshana, which is not the agnostic philosophy, but which is contained in the Bhagavat Purana of Maharshi Kapila, which is there, which is both a Gnostic philosophy and it is based on the concept of Chaitya, the Chaitya Purusha, which was hailed by Buddhism, the Chaitya Mandir, and Sri Aurobindo by Chaitya Purusha in his seminal work, The Life Divine. So India has to revive its ancient past, and we have to revive the glory. Then from the Iron Age, we'll again move on to the Golden Age. So with this background, I will try and move very fast because I don't have much time. I'll show you a quick glimpse of the work that we have done from Urdhva Moolam to Adhar Shakam, and from Adhar Shakam to Urdhva Moolam. So this knowledge of progressive mind, which Professor Nagendra said, from the chaotic mind to the calm transcendental mind, was pointed out by Norbert Wiener of MIT. And Professor Somesh Kumar is a very expert in this kind of knowledge. He's going to speak after me. And he talked about the 4 cybernetics of the physical, mental, cognitive, and the cosmological, where you penetrate the tamak guna and the tamarajas combination, and then you reorientate the rajasic combination towards swatta. So this becomes swatic rajasic guna, and then you finally enter the Vishuddha Shatta, which is the pure, calm mind, from where you transcend Shwatta itself, and then you go to the Gunatit, and there you go beyond the 4 cybernetics. So today, the wonderful thing which is happening is that the most ancient wisdom of India is getting recognized by the most modern knowledge which is produced by the West. So they are in harmony. So Indian spirituality is in perfect harmony with with Western sciences. So this is the whole background, and this is the background that happened as a background to IKES when Swami Vivekananda went to the East in the company of Sir Jamshedji Tata, and then at Chicago he met the great scientists like Lord Kelvin, Hermann Helmholtz, and Sir Nikola Tesla. And on the way back he met Max Muller, and then in his before he left his body, he had a great talk with Lokmanya Tilak. And that dialogue continued between Gurudev Tagore and Albert Einstein in 1930. And in 1929, Werner Heisenberg came to India to meet Gurudev Tagore. And finally, between 1952 and the present time, the thesis of Sri Aurobindo reached the United States. And President Woodrow Wilson, whose daughter came to Pondicherry Ashram, ordered to erect the American Institute of Integral Sciences and then the Californian Institute of Indian Sciences, from where the Israelian Institute was founded. And that led to the great recognition in 2004 when the Director General of the world's topmost particle science center in Switzerland, CERN, accepted a statue of Nataraja as a symbol of quantum electrodynamics, as propounded by Professor Richard Feynman of Princeton University, the great Nobel laureate. So this is a great recognition, and the complete reciprocity and complementarity between Indian spirituality and modern physics and quantum sciences. And we are moving from there to a great future, in the words of Sri Aurobindo. A great change is coming. And then great contributions came from Acharya P.C. Ray in chemistry, by Sir Bajendranath Shill on the ancient sciences, and no one else but Sir Jagadish Chandra Bose, who was with Swami Vivekananda at Paris in 1900. And then in 1952, Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan converted that infamous building where India was partitioned at Shimla to the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, where the first books of Indian knowledge systems were penned by Dr. Kapil Kapoor and others. And then from there at IIT Kharagpur, in the last 2 decades, we have been able to make some progress. And then the Science and Heritage Initiative was forwarded. And then Professor Somesh Kumar and others like Dr. Anuradha Chaudhary and a whole galaxy of IIT scientists and faculties started a course of ancient Indian science and technology. And very recently, we had a conference called Bharat Tirtha last year, which is all there in the YouTube. So if you search YouTube and Bharat Tirtha, you get all the recordings. And it was such a grand success that the Ministry of Education and its esteemed Honorable Minister Nishantji awarded IIT Kharagpur with a Center of Excellence for Indian Knowledge System, which is just not a property of IIT Kharagpur, but it is a national property. It also belongs to the School of Management Sciences at Varanasi. So it's for everybody. So on behalf of Professor Somesh Kumar, who is an advisor to this center, and all the fraternity of IIT Kharagpur, and our director, Professor Virendra K. Tiwari, I have the pleasure to extend you a warm welcome and perhaps a trip to IIT Kharagpur in the days and the years to come. So with this background, I'll show you what happened in this, where we had inducted 2 elements of the science and heritage, so that there is a final induction. And this is a formula that we had used in Sandhi in the project Varanasi, where Buddha had walked in, which is a heritage dimension, and the river which has produced commerce and economy for thousands of years. So the tourism, which is backed up by heritage on the one hand, and by a business plan on the other hand, is the right mixture that we need to do. That is exactly the dialogue that happened between Swami Vivekananda and Sir Jamshedji Tata in a ship from Yokohama to Vancouver to British Columbia before they alighted in the United States of America for that great journey. So under Sandhi and then IKS, we have lots of projects, and I'm going to go through it very fast. The first foundation projects are, of course, the science of yoga and the great contribution. The first book, which was penned in 1896, written in French by Swami Vivekananda, which fell into the eyes of Mira Alfaza, and then she came to India as a mother of Pondicherry. I mean, that was the first book of Indian spirituality which changed her. And then other books by Paramahansa Yogananda on the scientific healing and Kriya Yoga. And since those days, there have been hundreds of books which has been written in the world. And today, the most ancient science of India, which is the foundation of yoga, which is the science of the complementarity of Pind and Brahmand, of microcosm and macrocosm, is a science which has been accepted by the entire world. Like today in India, you find shops of cyber cafe and everything. If you go to California or in Germany, in every neighborhood, you'll find a shop which is a yoga clinic or a yoga center. So yoga has been a representation of Indian ethos all over the world. And the 4 Sankrantis, the 2 solstices and the 2 equinoxes are celebrated in the world as a scientific foundation of the relationship between the sun and the earth, the heliocentric and the geocentric foundations. And these in IIT Kharagpur was worked out by our professors of electrical sciences, communication sciences. This is not only going in IIT Kharagpur, but it is happening in other institutes like IIT Bombay, IIT Kanpur, and even in other institutes like IIT BHU itself. So this is a science which has spread to the whole world. And this is really a pride. This is truly a pride of the recovery of ancient Indian knowledge, the most foundation knowledge, which is not intellectualism, but this is direct realization, which is aparaksha anubhuti. This is gnosis. So this is, as in the words of Swami Vivekananda, being and becoming. By believing in God, you yourself become God. Brahmavid brahmaiva bhavati. By aspiration, the sage, by knowing Brahma, he becomes a Brahma Rishi. He also becomes Brahma Sarupa. So this is the foundation of Indian spirituality. This is not a lecture on the blackboard. This is not a science which is based on reductionism and Cartesian sciences. But this is talking about a rasgulla by eating the rasgulla. This is a mother who is talking about the child because she has conceived the child within herself. This is Rabindranath talking about a poetry that he has written by himself, which has come from within. So this is not a science from outside to inside. This is a science from inside to outside. That is the foundation of Indian science. So everything is gnosis. And the modern words like prognosis, gnosis, and diagnosis are the three stages of Indian science. That means you want to become a yogi, that is prognosis. You become a yoga siddha, that is gnosis. And then you return back as a teacher, that is diagnosis. You cure the whole world with therapeutics, with therapy. And that is the whole foundation of Christianity itself. Physician, heal thyself, which is written in the Bible, the Old Testament, in the Gospel of Luke. So one of the foundations of Indian knowledge system is language, and that is the Indo-European language system. And we know hundreds and thousands of words from India has become the foundations of modern sciences, like nadi, narva, has become neurology, like asthi has become osteopathy, like jara has become geriatrics. So in Sandhi, we worked on the visuals of this word, and our scholars could do tremendous work in this word connection. This is just a sample for your conviction. And then we worked on the Varnamala, the 49 alphabets, the vowels and the consonants, which is a foundation of natural language processing. The computers around the world has accepted Sanskrita as the most perfected language system through which other languages and communication can be reached, because it has reached a scientific perfection of intonation, syntax, semantics, and phonetics. It is only Sanskrit which has the power of this 49 alphabets, which is a foundation of natural language processing. And many of our professors, including Professor Pawan Goel, who is doing extremely wonderful work in NLP. So with this background of language, there's a connect between music and iconography. And we have done a little bit of work. We should not say we have done everything. And we have found out ancient connections between the most ancient Greek music and the Indian ragas, like Kafi is Dorian mode, Bhairavi is Rhegian mode, and Kalyan is Lydian mode. So at a very ancient point of Western history, when European history had not yet started, European history had just started after the fall of Granada, that is 1492. And rest of Europe was under Andalusia, which is end of Asia. So Indian music had affected and modulated and formulated the entire galaxy of Western music. So there's a lot of pramana, and this work was also done by Alice Boner, whose works is there in Kala Bhavan of BHU. So these are the foundations, and this has been pointed out by Arnold Toynbee, Abraham Maslow, and Alan Watts, the 3A, who has pointed out the great connect and absolutely documented in the Story of Civilization by Will Durant, who has named the first chapter Our Oriental Heritage, acknowledging that the entire Western civilization is originating from the Orient. Otherwise, he would have just named the chapter Oriental Heritage. So Sir William Durant named that chapter as Our Oriental Heritage. That word our makes all the difference. So on music, we have done some of this work. Our Professor Pallab Das Gupta and his team has done some of this work, and other kinds of work. Professor Aurobindo Rautre and others have this kind of works. And in our Department of Architecture, and some of the scholars have done this fantastic work on iconography. And this is where we have been able to prove the connect between the Bhagavata darshan of Kapila, the Chaitya Purusha, to the connect with the Chaitya Mandir and the life divine of Sri Aurobindo, which you find in this slide, And then we had a wonderful workshop where about 5 IITs and 6 NITs students had come, and we had produced a book on the swastika. So if you go to the net, it's available in the research gate under Elsevier, and it's also available on the net. You can PDF and have a look at this book. Even scholars from Harvard University has taken a copy of this book, and they are working on the book which is produced by IIT Kharagpur, where we have proved that the swastika is just not a ritualistic symbol, but it is actually the foundation of the 4 Sankrantis and the thermodynamic cycle, of the two of the iteration between Uttarayana, increase of heat, and Dakshinayana, which is decrease of heat, which is entropy. So all the pramanas and evidences are there in this book. And then the principles of renunciations and service, in the words of Swami Vivekananda, which is dana, donation, which finally becomes seva, and sarvasya, which is service, which is the foundation of moksha. As Swami Vivekananda said, attana mokshathaya jagadhitaya cha. My salvation is a universal resurrection. This is also the foundation of Christianity. My crucifixion on the cross is a resurrection of the whole world. So entire Christianity is also based on the foundations of the Indian Upanishads. And we are quite sure that the beginnings of Christianity was highly affected by the Buddhist missionaries which had reached Alexandria and Greece about 2,300 years back, about 300 years back prior to Christianity. And there IIT Kharagpur also has some small contribution about direct evidences. Then we come to the Vastu Vidya, and you can find the two great stalwarts, Prize winner Balakrishna Doshi and the MIT graduate Sir Charles Correa, who has designed this building and has revived the foundation of Vastu Shilpa. Doshi has erected the Vastu Shilpa, and Charles Correa has designed the Jahar Kala Bhavan in Jaipur, based on the foundation of the Navagraha Mandala, the 9-square matrix. And you find the evidence of the 9-square matrix in the Indus Valley seal, which is about 5,500 years old. You see this, the red circle on the top right. So this is the Indus Valley seal. So it shows the entire Indus Valley civilization was a part of the Vedic civilization. And this Aryan myth about 1700 BC, as forged and manipulated by the colonial rulers, is a falsification. It's an error. And the entire Indus Valley civilization with the swastika seal and other seal is a part of the Vedic civilization. And the Vedic civilization preceded the earliest times of India's civilization, which has gone back to about 10,000 BC with Mehergarh and Bhirana and others, where IIT Kharagpur also has a lot of work. So with these background, we have done other works. So one has been Project Varanasi. So some of the professors at your management's college knows about us. So we had come to Varanasi in 2014. So this is our students on Rajghat and Asi Ghat. We are working, and the Subhe Maharat, which happens on Asi Ghat, is actually an idea which was given by IIT Kharagpur to Varanasi Nigam. The first drawings of that musical festival on Asi Ghat was provided by IIT Kharagpur. So we are absolutely blessed that we are a part of Varanasi. You can see Professor Vidula Jaiswal is training the students of IIT Kharagpur and other IITs. And we are looking at the Rajghat excavation, where the history of Varanasi has gone back to 2500 BC. 4,500 years of sustainable urban habitat, the oldest habitat, even 1,500 years prior to Lord Buddha and Tirthankar Mahavira. So we have done this work. You can see Professor Rajiv Sangal and others. So we had done a lot of work. Some of you know we had worked on Varanasi. Uh, I mean, one of our Professor Avijit Mukherjee, did a seminal work, and last year he got the Shanti Sharup Bhatnagar Award based on the arsenic formations of River Ganga, an extension of the work in Project Varanasi. And then the work by our scholars, a lot of masters and PhD thesis has come out, and they are coming out. And with MIT and others, especially Columbia University and Georgia Tech, we had done these 3 projects on the Varanasi Ghats, starting from the Riverman to the Ghats, and then the adaptive reuse, project 4, 5, and 6. I'm going a little fast because I've already taken up a lot of time, and a lot of good work on the geohydromorphology of Varanasi itself, where just a PhD has been submitted with about 4 papers in Taylor Francis and Elsevier. Unfortunately, I'm one of the supervisors. The name of the scholar is Prerana Mondal. She just submitted her thesis. It's an excellent work which has been done. And then we have done other 8 micro projects with IIT BHU in the year 2017, 18, and 19. And then we had done other works in Chandraketugarh and Pushpagiri, which is coastal Odisha, on Tantric Buddhism, where Huensang had come about 1500 years back. And every 100 miles he had traversed, he had seen and witnessed a monastery. So there are tremendous archaeological foundations of a spiritual India that existed between Buddha and Adi Shankara. And there are problems with dates, because the dates of Adi Shankara could become pre-Christian, and the dates of Buddha could be as old as 1400 BC, as per the Ceylonese and the Burmese and the Chinese tradition. So these are works on which we are continuously working. And we have worked on a similar work in east of India, which is Chandraketugarh, which is synonymous to Indus Valley civilization, because there is always a tendency to prove that the civilization has moved from the west to the east to support the false Aryan invasion myth. But today we have found horse fossils in the coastlines of Brahmaputra, which is about 11,000 BC. I'm sorry, 11,000 BC. And with this, probably in another 2 or 3 years, we'll be coming out with a lot of knowledge. And then we have come down to the lowest material level, the works of Gandhiji, the works of the Gandhi of the West, Schumacher, Gurudev Rabindranath, Amartya Sen, Muhammad Yunus, Al Gore, Inconvenient Truth. And we have worked on the creative economy, the economy of the Ghats, the economy of the rituals, the economy of the marble, the economy of the adobe, of the terracotta, and how that is the lifeline. And this is exactly what Gandhiji and Gurudev Rabindranath had said. If you want to make progress India, you cannot be just looking at smart development, but you have to look at its villages, look at its cottage industries, home industries, small scale industries, village industries. And that is where India lies. So today we have just beginning to realize. And in Sandhi, we also had a dimension of this. And finally, we did a wonderful project with the Queen's Mary University of London. This was just before the COVID. And this was on the concept of God as the mother, because it is only in India, the Aryan tradition is God the mother, Durga, Lalita, Kali, Annapurna. So if the Aryans had come from Germany or from France, they didn't have a matriarchal tradition. It was all destroyed. It was in India only there was a matriarchal tradition which is even sustained. So this is a sustained well-being of, as Dr. Amit Sinha had said, we don't say Karna belonging to his father, but we say Kunti Putra. So the tradition of the sacred feminine of Arundhati, along with Vashishta, of Shanti, along with Bhrigu, of Lopamudra, along with Agastya, and many others. That is the tradition. So the Sapta Rishis are just not 7 sages, but they're also 7 Rishikas, the 7 Brahmarshinis, the 7 Rishikas. That is the foundation. And the highest foundation of Shukla Yajurveda is Rishi Ambhin, Bach, which is the foundation of Chandi. That comes straight from the Rig Veda. So who has said the Rig Veda is a patriarchal tradition? It's erroneous. It is wrong. It is absolutely founded on the Bach, on the feminine, the sacred feminine, the matriarchal tradition. And the whole concept of Gotra is actually a feminine tradition. And Indian Upanishad is absolutely not Brahminical, it's also Kshatriya. The Gita is also Kshatriya. It is a Shaktivad. So Shakti is sacred feminine. So all our avatars like Rama, Krishna, Buddha, Swami Vivekananda, they are all Kshatriyas. It is absolutely not Brahminical. So Indian spirituality is a combination of Brahminical and Kshatriya. So we have to be very careful before we start saying and interpreting India only as a Brahminical. This was an error which was conducted by the Western historians, which has destroyed our idea. This is a Macaulayan onslaught. And today corrections are being done. And this is something which was propounded by late Dr. Shama Prasad Mukherjee. He wanted to make these changes incorporated in our history books. And we had to wait about 70 years to make these changes. It is so unfortunate that even after 70 years, after Indian 1947 and the Macaulayan onslaught, we had to wait 70 years and be subservient to the Western influences. Such has been the influence of the Western radicalism in our mind. So the whole foundations, I'm coming to the end of my presentation. So Sandhi has emerged tremendously as a very large arena of collaborations and as themes which I've already shown you, an induction and a deduction of the spiritual and the material element. And then finally, it has also been a tremendous expression of a lot of international programs which has already happened. We have done 2 projects on Varanasi with Columbia University and Ivy League House, and also with Georgia Tech, which is known as the MIT of the West, or the South in the US. And IIT BHU is fully aware of that because they were our partners, and even some of the faculties at SMS are aware of that. But because I had personally visited SMS during that time, and that's how we became friends. It's very important to become, tameva mata cha pita tameva bandhuscha shakha tameva. So the highest definition of God is friendship. He is just not your father and mother. He is your friend. To Uddhav, he is Lord Krishna. To Mahavirji, he is Lord Rama. And to Rama, he is Lord Mahavirji. It is reciprocal. So it is a friendship between Vasudeva and Shankarshana. Sri Rama is Vasudeva and Mahavirji is Shankarshana. So it is the tale of 2 avatars, Rama and Krishna, Balaram and Sri Krishna. If you look at the Jayadeva, thus Avatar Sutra, you'll see the Ashtam avatar is not Sri Krishna, but it's Balaram. It's Balaram. So that is the beauty. And Sri Krishna is considered to be Avatar Bhagavat Sayam. He is a Tattva. He is not an avatar. So there are a lot of clarifications that needs to be made. So I come to the end of this, and I really love this great scientist who came running in 1929 when he read the books of Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore. He became mad, and he said, in every poetry and lines of Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, I can see the Upanishads, and I can see the lines of my quantum equations, my uncertainty principles, like matter is spirit and spirit is matter. The cat is both dead and alive. So if you want to see the cat as matter, then the cat is dead. The cat is spirit. If you want to see the cat as spirit, then the cat is alive. The cat is matter. So one is matter and another is antimatter. So this iteration between wave and matter is the foundation between spirituality and the iteration between spirituality and materialism. Urdha Moolam and Adha Shvakam. And this is what Werner Heisenberg had said. It is probably quite true generally in the history of human thinking. The most fruitful developments frequently take place at those points where absolutely 2 different lines of thought meet, where the East hits the West, where Swami Vivekananda meets scientist Nikola Tesla, where Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore meets Sir Albert Einstein, where Mahatma Gandhiji meets the West, and where Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan gives a lecture at the United Nations, and where one day all the efforts by this wonderful school of management sciences will one day meet the best of the minds in the West. So it is just not a nostalgia of the past, in the words of Professor Somesh Kumar. who is going to speak after me on a very specific domain of mathematics, but it is also the celebration in the contemporary time, how it is relevant. So the Center of Excellence of IIKS at IIT Kharagpur will become a hub to which all the spikes, all the centers in India will come and join. This is a dream of IIT Kharagpur. So welcome to IIT Kharagpur. Welcome, welcome to the Center of Excellence, and welcome to this initiative, which is just not a building, but it is a thought movement. As Swami Vivekananda said, first thought is very important, then comes action, because at the beginning of action, if you don't have a very good thought, then action becomes aimless. So values must lead actions, and behind the values you have upalabdhi, dharana. So spirituality, morality, and materialism, these are the three layers of science in India. That is the panacea of sustainable well-being. So to move in the future world, we have to recognize all the three levels, Urdhvamulam, Adhashakam. Namaskar, thank you, and my pranam to the entire fraternity. I'm just stop sharing my screen. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much, sir, for such a wonderful PowerPoint presentation and deep insight on Indian knowledge systems. We are really honored. It was really very interesting, and you have influenced us in such a positive way that words cannot express. You are truly an inspiration. Audience, get ready to listen to another distinguished professor from the same institute, IIT